Thank you so much to both Sir William and Lord Johnson. We are very, very honoured you could both be here today, and that was absolutely excellent to hear from you both. I would now like to invite to the stage Sarah Williams-Gardner, the CEO of Fintech Wales, who's going to host a panel. You can come on up. Who's going to host a panel discussion with 4 very successful Welsh businesses who are all at different stages. Come on up, guys. One London headquartered business that's expanding into Wales, and one London-based investor looking to Wales to make their next billion. So, Sarah, over to you and this amazing panel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Louise. Thank you, Sir William, and thank you, Lord Johnson, 2 people who are clearly very knowledgeable and very passionate about Wales. So for that, I thank you a lot. So, Perandar, Croeso, good afternoon, welcome, and happy St David's Day to everybody, and thank you for having us here on this amazing day. This is really indulgent for me because it's the best part of my job when I get to promote the brilliant businesses. So this is the warm-up for the next lot of businesses coming through. And I think when you have a successful cluster, it's really important that you have key components to that you have academic institutions, that you have anchor employers, that you have startup cultures that can support it. And of course, investment is really important. But as scaling businesses are equally as important. And that's what I'm joined by here today. And I'm going to be asking them all about what's special about Wales. So, Alex, I'm going to come to you first. You're representing Anne Bowden from Starling, which is very kind of you. Thank you very much. Anne hails from Bonamine in Swansea. So she's one of Wales's best. And Starling came to Wales, I think, 2 years ago now. What brought you to Wales? We've heard Lord Johnson saying everybody smiles, and I believe you and I have had conversations about your experience going into the office. What brought Starling to Wales? What do you love about building your business in Wales?
Thank you, Sarah. So, hello everyone. Happy St David's Day. I'm Alex Freenan. I'm the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer at Starling Bank. We are based in London, but our biggest office is in Cardiff. And as Sarah rightly says, we actually opened there at the end of 2019, and then COVID happened, and we had our big office that was empty. What took us to Wales? There was a push and there was a pull. And the push was, we felt as a growing fintech company, it was really important that we didn't just keep all the wealth creation that was coming out of Starling in terms of jobs and drivers for the economy. We didn't want to just keep that in London. We felt that we had a moral duty to spread that throughout the country. But the pull was really, really strong, and that was looking for talent across the whole board. So we wanted software developers, lawyers, customer service agents, data scientists, and a lot of tech companies in London will tell you that there's a shortage of talent and it's really hard to hire anyone. And that is true because it turns out not everyone wants to live in London. And what we found is we've got offices in Southampton, Cardiff, we're soon to open one in Manchester. There is loads of really, really good talent. We're a digital company, so we were after digital talent. Sarah's talked about the cluster, and I think the cluster effect, the networking effect that you get in Cardiff is really important with all these great companies. It attracts, the more of you there are, the more talent you attract, and it becomes this sort of self-sustaining system. So we spotted that in Cardiff, and it's absolutely amazing to see. I was in Wales last week, and some of the companies on the panels here today we met, and I was just blown away by the absolute range of ideas coming out of Cardiff. So it's, for us, we're going to where the talent is. We're not sitting there complaining to the government, can we have more visas? We didn't get any incentives at all to go to Cardiff. We didn't want incentives. We wanted to go to a city where we knew we would like it. As I say, it's our biggest office. We said we were going to create 400 jobs there. We've actually got 1,244, I just counted, so that's half of our employee base is now in Cardiff, and we absolutely love it. And what Sarah was referring, I said to her last week that, I came back from our Cardiff office and I said to our CEO, a Welsh woman, I just can't understand why the Cardiff office is so much nicer than the London office. And she said, well, it's because they're all Welsh, Alex. And that sounds flippant, but actually it's a very different vibe there. It's full of energy. I'm not saying our London office hasn't got energy, it's a different type. Our Southampton office is very chill and laid back. You know, you get that in companies where you've got offices in different places. But Cardiff is this sort of beehive feeling, and we absolutely love it. And we'll be creating, we're taking more space, we're creating more jobs. So thank you, Wales.
Well, we're very grateful to have you in Wales, and it just shows, as you said, it's the cluster effect and the collaboration, and I think people are very happy in Wales. The energy that you feel when you go into these offices is palpable. We're just not very good at sharing how brilliant we are, and to quote head of the Football Association, Noel Mooney, I think it was a phrase he coined, but we borrow it with pride, we're pathologically modest. So we have to do an awful lot more about sharing the brilliance we had, and it's great to hear Sir William and Lord Johnson understanding that, coming out to Wales and seeing the talent that we have. So moving further down the panel, Louise, you were here last year in this very room, I think, and you were one of the pitching companies. So maybe you'd share with us that experience and also what it meant to you and why it was important.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've already touched on it's hard raising money. So I was here a year ago. Events like this are brilliant. It raises companies' profile. You get really good contacts and connections. But it's always tough raising capital. It's even tougher at the moment. What we're finding is that a lot of investors are choosing to kind of close investment and really concentrate on their own portfolio during these really challenging times. So when I came here last year, I talked about our really big, ambitious Series B raise. But as a company, we decided to pivot, and we are pushing our raise out for another year, 24 months. And I think, you know, the resilience that we have been able to create in the last year to build us that cash runway, to allow us to pivot, to allow us to choose to invest at a time that really suits us, is down to our sort of really strong business model that we've created within our company.
Well, thank you. So you were here last year raising, your business has changed, you've pivoted, you're profitable as I understand it. Yep. So you've got good recurring revenues, you're building that, and then you will go back out for a smaller raise before you do the big one. Is that right?
That's right. So yes, again, what amazing things can happen in a year. So within this year, we've, in our established territory, which is the UK, we've reached profitability. And I think you learn an awful lot in a business when you're quite cash-strapped. You become incredibly distilled in your focus, laser focus. So for us, we kind of looked at our business model is looking, first of all, what's your addressable market and how can you really make the most of that? So we sell bike insurance, and it's like a subscription model. So bikes have always been really, really popular. We all ride them for health and fitness. But now there's a real move in society to bikes in cities, sustainability, e-bikes, e-scooters. And the way we buy bikes is different. So we still buy them, but we also lease them. And leasing has become incredibly important when we're in a cost of living crisis. So a company like ours, we've got to be agile, and we change to meet that. So one of our biggest things that we've launched this year is our leasing, and we're kind of embedded in that leasing journey, so that when you're taking out your e-bike lease, you're buying your Bikmo insurance as part of that journey. So that drives us our volumes. And then the two other aspects that we need to consider for us, there's three parts of our business model, how we acquire our customers. So having a really diverse distribution channels gives resilience. We work with B2B2C, so partnerships where we can embed in the journey, like the leasing companies or British Cycling, the retail companies, down to your local shops that will use our QR codes to buy our insurance. B2B as well has been really helped to build that resilience. We insure all delivery riders in the UK. So that's our distribution channels, and those two elements actually help drive our B2C business, our direct-to-consumer business. We acquire our customers really cheaply, effectively, through this combination. And then once you acquire your customer, you need to retain your customer. So the final part of the jigsaw is all about centric to the customer. How do we keep our customers happy? So we've managed to be top of all of the Trustpilot and FIFO for any bike insurance. The customers love us. We look after them really, really well. We service them really well. If something happens to their bike, we try and get them back on their bike the next day if we can. We've even courier Bromptons across London to get people back on their bikes. Those three things together, boom, we've made a profitable model and one that enables us to really choose the point to invest in capital. And yeah.
I love that. Boom, we're profitable. So a business that, or there are investors in the room. I'm sure Louise would be interested to continue those conversations because you will be coming out for that shortly. Now, Gareth is one of the superstars in Wales. I love your business. It's pathologically modest. Your private markets and access to raising money. These two guys, by the way, to me are the Zuckerbergs of Wales, and they know it. And I love them for it. But Gareth, tell us why you love having your business in Wales. I know you're a passionate Welshman, and I know that you're planning to grow, and you're global, you're exporting. So tell us what's important for you to have your business in Wales and why you've continued to do that, because you could go anywhere.
Yeah, no, thank you. And yeah, seen as not one for you and I to be seen as pathologically modest too often, so that's a new one for us. Appreciate it. No, I think, you know, for me it was, yeah, so I started kind of career up in Manchester, and yeah, it was really important to me to kind of come back to Wales and set up the business. I kind of felt like, you know, we regularly just don't kind of punch anywhere near our weight in the economy in the way that we should. So kind of saw like a real opportunity to try and, you know, try and be part of building a success story. And hopefully by doing that, then that creates ancillary opportunities across Wales around that. And I think that's kind of the ingredient that everyone's kind of striving for in Wales. So I wanted to really kind of be a part of that. And I think, so that was kind of why one of the key drivers for me. I think it was also, you know, necessity at the time. You know, founded the business in 2015, so kind of 25 at the time, and, you know, didn't necessarily have the resource to kind of continue what I was doing in Manchester and go back to starting a business. So thankfully my parents took me back in, and we went from there. But, you know, there's definitely been a lot of kind of benefits for us in building the business in Wales. I don't just think it was a passion decision. I think it was a smart business decision, you know, in terms of building that initial base of people and talent. You know, every time I've, you know, gone into the market in Wales, we found, like, you know, just there's a lot of kind of untapped potential in a lot of people, and I just think that's only growing. I was kind of part of a Cardiff Commitment strategic leadership meeting yesterday, and just to kind of see all the initiatives kind of going on in the background, really at the grassroots level as well. I think that sentiment around untapped potential and talent is still there. I think I do truly think it's a goldmine for companies. But yeah, for us, you know, getting from that 0 to kind of 30 in headcount, we were able to do it kind of a lot more quickly, efficiently, and effectively than we would have been if we'd been based in kind of, you know, London, New York, Singapore, etc. So there was definitely some real kind of tangible business benefits that helped us, you know, punch above our weight, and that's something that we try and, you know, continue to do in the business. You know, we're playing in a environment with, you know, large global financial institutions in a fast-growing, fast-evolving landscape, and we really try and leverage that kind of, you know, that part that we're from Wales as being a competitive advantage. You know, I think try and then instill that in when we're working on projects with banks. I think people enjoy working with the team, and kind of one of my favourite bits about doing it really is we've been able to just have so many different success stories in the people that have come through, and I don't necessarily think we would have been able to get that in a more you know, maybe in a more saturated kind of tech startup environment.
So I just want to ask you to share sort of a story that I think is amazing. I think a lot of what you do is amazing. But your product, which is typically B2B for private markets, was instrumental in COVID. So you were a huge contributor. The agility, the ability to change your platform, to work with your partners, was one of the key contributors to raising the money that went to the vaccine, as I understand it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think kind of, you know, COVID, I think was an interesting, obviously a very interesting time for a lot of businesses in a lot of different ways. We'd always built the business in mind with being kind of that infrastructure and that plumbing for private markets. So our kind of objective is to help those financial institutions of all shapes and sizes, enhance and grow, scale, and add value in their proposition. So that was initially kind of focused around the core technology piece, and then we launched a structure and solutions business a couple of years ago, which effectively helps us create investment vehicles that kind of reduce the friction points for people investing in private markets. So in terms of like the deal flow we kind of see going across our infrastructure, despite being white label, we obviously work with lots of different firms in all different shapes and sizes, and I don't think I can take the credit of making the contribution to that. But so one of the clients we worked with, was raising a fund that kind of was super successful in terms of those investments they made and funding kind of some of those massive contributors to COVID vaccines and the like as well. So it's it's great kind of case studies and validation for what we do, and I think that whole social impact angle to private markets is something that we're super passionate about in the business, because it's a lot of people come into our company and don't necessarily have that exposure to financial services or private markets in a past life, but giving them something, telling them they're working on the sorts of projects that are tangible and real and they can see kind of having a positive impact in people's day-to-day lives really kind of helps us as a business. So it's more of I think a benefit to us and a pleasure to kind of work on those sorts of projects.
Well, we're proud of you and we're proud of what you've achieved. Just moving on, Sina, you've been named as the Department for Business Trade Envoy. Tell us about Cardiff, Wales, the ecosystem, and how that has helped your business not only grow, but also from an export perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, similar backstory to Gareth. Only I was younger, and from university, I had no idea about business, about the financial services landscape, but and I had many options from where to go, whether to stay in Cardiff, go to London, and it was really the how dynamic the local landscape was with regards to people like Gareth, one of my first mentors, helped me kind of hone down my MVP, the products that we had. He's berated me many times on my ideas, and along with that, all the different services that are actually popping up, CCR, Fintech Wales, that you're a part of, Sarah. It's been incredibly helpful to all the startups that are now prospering in Wales. And echoing some of the things that have been said around the room already, now more than ever, companies in Wales get more bang for their buck, especially after COVID. People are leaving London. All the talent that was once here is now spread across a lot of places, and from what I've seen, the majority of that I think has come to Cardiff. And we've had incredible fortune with the talent that we've acquired and the skill sets that we have, probably discounted rates as well. So I think that has obviously been incredibly helpful for a startup competing with these massive firms. In terms of exporting and trade, we white label to financial services as well on a global scale, and being part of being the export champion for Wales, it's been firstly very helpful to us as a business. We have had access to those thousands of people across the world that the UK has fantastically put in place, but also being able to actually help other companies that were in my shoes to actually go through that journey as well. It's very challenging selling not only to the UK but also wider as well. So it's been great.
Fantastic, thanks, and long may it continue, and more exports as far as we're concerned. Ed, just bringing you in, slightly different perspective from your side, from Octopus. You've made investments in Wales. What's your observation about the businesses that you see and the businesses you've chosen to invest in?
In Wales in particular?
In Wales.
Well, obviously I have to say, in this room I have to say they're absolutely amazing and excellent with extremely well-dressed CEOs. But yeah, I was talking about the other ones. It would be wrong to turn around and say that there was, we go to Wales because there's certain supports there or there's certain tax advantages or whatever. The truth is we've just found very good companies in Wales, and they're a disproportionate part of our portfolio. So You know, companies I've personally been involved in, like Vico in Swansea and the safeguarding company in Port Talbot, and more recently Delio in Cardiff, and before then, not tech, but like Welsh Power in Cardiff and things like that. So it's just, for whatever reason, it has nothing to do with tax breaks or support or whatever. It just happens to be that we found very, very good companies there, which is great because I enjoy Wales and I enjoy Cardiff and I enjoy the rugby. So still waiting for my invite, Gareth. But yeah, you know, the other thing is, I'd say in a post-COVID world, it's a much smaller place. You know, it's much, much easier to invest across, well, not just you know, in the UK, but globally it's much easier to invest. And that is actually a huge opportunity for lots of companies in the regions. I mean, we were in Wales, obviously, before the pandemic, but I don't think we actually visited Delio's offices until after we'd made the investment, you know. Actually, there was one board meeting I went to, not with Delio, but another company in Wales that I went to, and I hadn't been to their offices until the first board meeting. And when I turned up, I realised I hadn't actually even met them in person because we'd done everything over Zoom during the pandemic. And they just looked at me and went, "You're much taller in real life than you are on Zoom." You know, so I think that's you know, that makes the whole world a lot smaller and makes a lot more opportunities to invest. And then, you know, within Wales, you've just got lots and lots of good tech, you know, lots of good tech people. I think at first I was a bit concerned because what we were seeing with our Welsh companies in tech, was that a lot of London-based companies were taking that tech resource away because they were saying, hey, you only have to come to our London office now once a month, and therefore here's your London-based salary, you know, developer, and you can stay somewhere in Wales. I think I found that reverse. That problem seems to have disappeared when I talk to the companies in Wales. And actually, if anything, it's the other way around, where we're seeing people go, well, actually, I only have to be in London if I have to be once a week, and therefore I'm going to base and I want to work for a Welsh company and I want to come into the offices in Wales. So I think the pandemic has changed things as well. But ultimately, we've just found really good opportunities to invest.
Because we're innovative and we're happy and we're collaborative. You're just...
I'd definitely say that is true about, you know, I think there is definitely an arrogance maybe. I'd be careful to those people that aren't Welsh in the room, but there is maybe, you know, there's more of an arrogance in the tech, I guess, here than there is in Wales, you know, and therefore that brings a passion, and that's, you know, that's great to invest into.
Well, you're going to be seeing 7 companies, I think, shortly. What's your advice to them? What are you looking for? How are they going to get your money, Ed?
I think the number one thing is to really think, are you solving a problem, and a problem that's big enough to be solved, that needs solving, and therefore, you know, my biggest fear is you invest in a solution that's in search of a problem, you know, and quite often that's because it's something that founder or entrepreneur is really passionate about, because it's something that they care about, but they miss the point that actually it's not a huge problem across a large number of people. It doesn't mean to say it's a bad company, and it can't be a good niche company, but it's not one that I can invest into because the opportunity needs to be big enough that we can make the returns that you're looking for. So I think it's my advice is always to be, you know, define the problem really quickly, and then define why you're the solution, and define why that opportunity is big enough for investors to make their returns. And then the other thing, you know, we are in a different climate right now. You know, 2023 is very, very different to 21. It's very different to 22, and therefore, you know, we're looking for resilience in businesses. We're looking for founders that understand, the importance of efficiency, and I think the cheap equity and the cheap money that was kind of flowing into the market now is much more difficult to come by.
Thank you. Sorry, I've just been drawn to the Slido. Thank you.
I was wondering whether it was more interesting up there than it is.
Thank you very much for bringing your questions in. It doesn't look like we're sort of targeting them to anyone in particular. Who do you speak to learn more about opportunities in Wales? Tech companies, come talk to us. And the Welsh Government, and you've got the British Business Bank. There's lots of collaborative people here, and as a collaborative group we typically have these types of companies represented. So please come. We've got some of our members of staff in the room. Come and talk to us. Along with ideas, finance and skills, what else are the key ingredients in Wales innovation? What's the key ingredients in Wales innovation? I think it's people like Sina and Gareth, who are bright talents coming back. But do you want to pick up on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I think going back for me, it has generally just been potential of the people, and it's probably repeating what I said earlier, but it is. I do generally, you find a lot of kind of personality traits that during kind of the ups and downs of running a company, that just the value is just unbelievable in terms of loyalty, integrity, all those kind of bits and pieces that you need when you're trying to go through the ups and downs of a business. I mean, you can't build a foundation of a business on if people are constantly moving in and out, and you'll find those kind of core people that buy into your vision and ideas as much as you and are passionate about being part of that. I think that, but I think it's that, and I think it's also then kind of the broader ecosystem is kind of growing all the time of the organisations that have been established to support businesses, and you find lots of people supporting you from externally, yourself included, Sarah, who are just as passionate about what we're doing as we are in ourselves. So I think that's also massively valuable, and like when you get to kind of get that encouragement and that kind of inspiration, and people are kind of egging you on, it makes it easier to get up at 4 a.m. and get on the train or jump on that flight or whatever. You're kind of doing it for the people that work with you and the people you're trying to help bring along with you on the journey. So for me, it's definitely that potential of the people.
I think absolutely the passion and actually the resilience. I think we're a very, very resilient nation. We've had a question about pitching, but Ed, I think personally, I think you tackled that. If anyone asked that question and they don't think it was answered, we can come back to it for sure. And then we've got, who do you speak to? Fintech banking, aligning more with net zero, decarbonisation. Alex, what is Starling doing around decarbonisation and net zero with your products?
We are doing as much as we can. We have renewable energy in all of our offices. We were the first bank to introduce a debit card made from recycled plastic. We are offsetting all of our own emissions. We've done that for the last 2 years, and we've pledged to do that. We've signed up to the Science-Based Target initiatives to make sure that our net zero pledge is sort of gold standard and achieved with globally recognised standards. So we're trying to do it, hit that on all fronts. And one of the great drivers of all of this have been our own staff, who are very keen to take part in all our green initiatives, to volunteer, to push us. We have a Slack channel where employees can ask any question they want of the executive team, and they're always saying, do we invest in fossil fuels? No, we don't. They're always holding us to account on things like that. So the only thing where we're weak is that people putting the wrong things in the office recycling bins drives me nuts. But
there's always human error, and that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah. Louise, did you want to come in on that?
Yeah, again, sort of listening to our customers, it's really hugely important to the younger generations as well as older. So in 2019, we became one of the first UK insurance brokers to get our B Corp certification. And that's kind of quite broad, but it means that everything we do, we're always trying to think about the environment, how we work. And we find customers and partners come to us because of the pledges we make under that. So, yeah, I think we kind of just sort of making sure it's part of the culture through and through.
And I think the other thing we try and do within the ecosystem, and we've got some really interesting projects, is we try and get Welsh companies to buy from Welsh companies, so we reduce the carbon miles from that perspective. We do like to sort of actually use and support our own businesses. Ed, there's one question here specifically for yourself. Given the challenging investment environments and the needs for resilience, what sort of companies are you looking to invest in Wales? And I think ones that tackle problems.
Private market B2B software companies? I don't
Marvellous.
know.
Marvellous. He might be doing another round. What on top of that? Because obviously we want your money to go to Gareth, but we'd like it to go to others as well.
Yeah, I mean, Octopus is quite a large VC. We're most active VCs in Europe, and therefore we invest in lots of different sectors. So we've got a very strong fintech team, which I think Rennie's here somewhere, but also consumer tech, deep tech, health tech, and all the other ones that I can't remember off the top of my head. And, you know, ultimately, I wouldn't say there is any one thing that we're really looking to. I mean, I think realism from the founding team about where they are and clearly understanding what they're trying to achieve. But I wouldn't say we're going out there specifically looking for one type of business. Obviously, we're predominantly tech investors, so therefore, if it's something infrastructure, then that's probably a bit more difficult. But ultimately, you know, we've still got a lot of capital to deploy. We aren't the ones shutting up shop. We are looking for new opportunities, and we're looking at that across all sorts of different tech sectors. So if anyone has an interesting business that's looking for funding, then, you know.
Sit in the front row.
Okay.
We'll all be keen to hear that. Louise, there's a question specifically directed at yourself. You are from North Wales.
Yep.
Do you feel equally as supported in North Wales as the rest of the panel who are
I think
residing?
all the points that Gareth made earlier, it's about that there's great external support. It doesn't matter where you are in Wales. There's a lot of focus around Cardiff and fintech, but actually there's a huge growing fintech community around North Wales as well. It's all about the culture of the people, having the resilience when you find the potholes that always come in the way of the startup businesses, having the team around you that are there, that we find that we can recruit quite easily in the area. People want to be in nice places to live, and you know, North Wales is a beautiful place to be.
But the resources in South Wales are equally available to you. It's not as though you feel as though you're out on a limb in any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, the same external support is there, Sarah, thank you, and your team. And we've had some absolutely brilliant input from various Welsh organisations. We kind of were able to get to an exhibition in Berlin, and that's really helped drive our German business this year, which has become increasingly successful. So things like that we've been able to pull in and do, and that's all been through the Welsh Government or Welsh support.
This particular question, which I think I'll use to sort of end on and maybe answer a little bit myself, but obviously look for other people to come in. Talking about the Rose Review being updated last week, what is the panel doing to support female founders and other minority groups? The one thing that I would say about Wales, first of all, we are one organisation one sort of nation that has female chairs, female CEOs in FTSE companies, and it's not just one company. So you can look at Admiral. Admiral have a global female CEO, a UK female CEO, a CEO of their Pioneer, all women. Confused.com, until recently, Louise, was run by an amazing, talented lady. We have Principality, which is chaired by a woman, which is also CEO'd by a woman. And I could go on, and we have Anne, who obviously leads and was the founder of Starling, Anne Jessup, who is the CEO of the Royal Mint. Did you know the Royal Mint, all the coins are in Wales? That's another thing we have. So from an inclusivity perspective, we're doing quite well. But actually something we've launched very recently, and there are some people who, along with myself, actually sit in this group, is we have a female angel investor community, and they are investing in female founders. So we are attracting female founders to Wales. We've got lots of talent in that group, amazing talent in that group. So we are very open to females, but to all diversity. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything else on the diversity front, but I just think most people don't realise just how inclusive Wales is. But very happy to take any other comments on the diversity point.
It's a fabulous list of names you've just given, Sarah, and that's great to see. But, you know, women entrepreneurs get 1 or 2% of the funding raised by male entrepreneurs. So it's a drop in the ocean. It's just not enough. And I would just plead to, I mean, there's one, look at Lucy, most amazing company she's got. Invest in her. We just can't stop saying it till we see more money going to women founders. They are there. They are beating against the doors and no one's letting them in. So
We've been going 6 months with this investor group, and we've made 2 investments. So we're starting. It is quite unique, and as you said, there's a lot more to be done, but we have started with that. Sorry, Ed.
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, it's something we've thought about very deeply at Octopus. I think that if anybody has met Octopus Ventures, they would say it's one of the most diverse VC teams that's out there. I mean, if you don't think that, then have a look on our website. And the reason for that is because you make better investment decisions the more diverse panels you have, because you get much more thoughts and backgrounds, etc. But we also have I wouldn't say it's a commitment, because I think that these kind of random commitments aren't necessarily easy to hold up, but we are trying to make sure that we, 30%, which I know isn't parity yet. We're hoping to get parity by 2030, but we're certainly hoping to get sort of 30% in the next few years of all businesses we see have at least a woman co-founder or are led by women. So we're kind of actively trying to change things. And I would, there's one last point on this. It isn't just about finding women-led companies. It's then how the questions you ask and making sure it's done in a way that it sets everybody up for the same success. And there's lots of studies that show how VCs can talk to different groups of people in different ways with all the unconscious biases. So this is really quite deep-rooted and much more than just trying to score up numbers. So something that we're trying to change, but it's going to take time.
It is going to take time, but the fact that people are focused on it and recognising it, and we're raising it and discussing it, means that it's at the table, so we can start to tackle it. I think we've been through most of the questions. My neck won't go any further around to sort of look at them, but I think we've gone through most of the questions. The panel will be here afterwards. I've had the warning to finish. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Ed, Sina, Gareth, Louise and Alex, and maybe join me in a round of applause for their contributions.